You know, I've been doing so many upgrades on my other Hellcat Pro that I really felt like it was time to build this guy up a little bit. You know, show it a little bit of love. If you haven't been watching my series on the Hellcat Pro, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down below for that playlist for you. I'm Mike Splain, this is 360 Tactical Solutions, and no one puts in more work testing out upgrades on the Hellcat Pro than I do. Okay, so obviously this gun, it's not quite stock. It does have the Apex threaded barrel on there, as well as the Strike Industries quad comp. Again, there are videos over in that playlist for both of these items. You can go check those out if you want. The thing is though, I get flooded with questions and comments about the products from MCarbo pretty much all the time. People want to know about the trigger as well as the titanium striker upgrade from MCarbo. Either that or they get on there and they've got a comment about how much they love those products because they already have them in their gun. It took a couple of months, but at a certain point I said, okay, enough is enough. And I went ahead and reached out to the people over at MCarbo. I asked them if they would go ahead and send out one of their triggers and striker upgrade kits so that I could go ahead and put them on my backup Hellcat Pro, test them out, and let you guys know what I think. And here we are. Of course, I'm not being paid for this review, and just because a company sends me a product doesn't mean I'm going to take it easy on them. You guys should know that by now. There it is, that's my disclaimer. Big thanks to MCarbo for sending these products out for me to finally test and bring you guys my results. Let's just go ahead and dive right in and get started with the trigger. The trigger is kind of an interesting design in that it has a set screw built into it so that you can go ahead and adjust your pre-travel or take-up. This, for me, was the only real issue that I found with any of the products that they sent me, to be honest. The set screw for this trigger, it is tiny. It also does not come pre-installed into the trigger. If you order one of these kits and you do the installation yourself, which I always recommend that you have it done by a qualified gunsmith, you know the disclaimer. If you do it by yourself, you need to be extra careful with that set screw because with it being so small and the threads being so small, it is super easy to cross thread or damage those threads when doing the installation. I honestly don't know what happened with mine. I adjusted a little bit. I put it together. I thought I had it to where it was, you know, a good happy medium as far as the take-up goes. After I had the gun put back together, I did a little test and I thought, well, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more turns out of it, that'll make it perfect. When I put that Allen key down in there to try to give it a little bit of a turn, the screw itself, it wasn't gonna budge. It didn't move. It was stuck in there so bad that the Allen key itself actually twisted. Something went wrong, and I don't know if it was a defective Allen screw. I don't know what the deal is. All I know is that I'm glad that the adjustment was kind of a happy medium on this when I put it together, because it's not going anywhere. This is where it's going to be at forever. Of course, this could be a fluke, and by no means would I say that this issue is a direct representation of the quality of parts that MCarbo creates. I personally think this is an isolated event. In fact, I did email them to let them know what had happened, and my suggestion was, you know, in the future maybe look at using a slightly larger set screw that's going to be able to handle a little bit more torque and be a little bit more durable, maybe a little bit easier to install. One of the things that I really do like about this trigger kit is that they include this little 3D printed trigger holder. This thing, you go ahead and you put the trigger in there, and then the trigger bar slides in the side, and it holds everything together to make the installation so much easier. I have done literally dozens of trigger swaps over the last, I don't know, couple of years, and one of the things that can be really frustrating is when you have the trigger bar going into the trigger shoe and you're trying to line up the pin into the trigger shoe and have the trigger bar hole lined up. You know, everything has to be perfect. And this right here made that part of the installation take all of about 30 seconds. What made that so quick and easy was this cheap little 3D printed marvel that they include in the packaging. It's really an ingenious idea. I mean, what's it cost to make one of these on a 3D printer? Maybe $1 or $2? Probably less if they make, I don't know, 30 or 40 at a time. I don't know. I don't use a 3D printer, but I imagine this is something that took, you know, next to nothing cost-wise and nothing more than a little bit of time to make, that in the end makes the user experience that much better. Now the trigger shoe itself, I really like the size and shape of it. I'm trying really hard not to make this like a comparison video, but the trigger shoe from MCarbo, it is considerably smaller and less bulky than the one from Apex. It's also a different texture. I don't know what the finish is that they're using on this. Maybe it's some sort of anodized. I'm not really sure, but it's smooth and almost glass-like. Not to say that the one from Apex is rough, but this is noticeably smoother than the Apex trigger. I really feel like I could go to the range and I could shoot, I don't know, 1,000 rounds through this gun and the trigger never irritate my finger. The kit itself also comes with some new springs. I can't give you an exact figure, but I can tell you that the trigger pull is slightly lighter than what the stock one is. My trigger pull gauge, I don't know what's going on with it. I went to pull it out and use it, and it's just being a real piece of trash. The numbers are fluctuating all over the place, and I really can't trust what it's saying, so I'm not going to throw any numbers out there. I can tell you that the trigger pull is nice and smooth. It might get just a little bit mushy once you reach the wall. The wall itself is solid. And of course, it's got a good reset. No complaints there. All in all, I think the trigger from MCarbo, it's a great upgrade. If you buy the full kit, it does come with the trigger as well as the titanium striker upgrade. You can take a look at their site, and you know, they have some statements on there about the geometry of the sear edge. It's supposed to actually reduce the amount of creep or take up. The striker spring also, that's a little bit lighter than what the stock one is. On top of that, the striker is titanium, so you shouldn't have any of those issues where the tip of the striker shatters or breaks off. I know some people have mentioned that being an issue with Hellcats or Hellcat Pros. I get those comments pretty frequently. Apparently, everybody in the world knows somebody whose brother works with a guy whose cousin's aunt's ex-husband has one, and through the process of dry firing, the striker exploded. I don't know, honestly. I can't speak to that. All I can say is that I do a ton of dry fire practice, and I haven't had that happen. Of course, that doesn't mean that it can't happen or that it won't happen. I'm just saying it's not something that's happened with either of my guns. At the same time, now that I have the titanium striker in this gun, that's something that I know for sure I'm not going to have to worry about. I think the shooting experience with the MCarbo parts is good. I like the feel of the trigger. It functions really well. It's lightened up a little bit from where the stock one was, but it still feels pretty safe. Safe enough that I would carry it. Even with the lighter spring and striker, it's performed really well. I put, I don't know, 500, no more than 700 rounds through this thing since I put this trigger in. And I haven't had any issues that would lead me to believe that there were any issues with the MCarbo parts. Like I said, the set screw issue that I had, that was the only thing that I didn't like, and I do feel like maybe that was an isolated incident, and there's a strong, reasonable possibility that could have been a user error. I'll take that one. Still, I feel like the MCarbo kit, it's a pretty good value. It's something that if I had to do it all over again, I definitely would bust out my credit card and order those parts. Now I know people are going to ask this question, MCarbo or Apex? I hate being put on the spot that way, but also I know that if I don't address that question now in this video, the comment section down below is just going to get blown up from here to all eternity. These two triggers, the MCarbo and the Apex, they perform very similarly. The trigger pull, the reset, everything is so similar between the two of them. What it's primarily going to boil down to is your personal preference in the shape of the trigger shoe. I really do like both of these triggers, I do. But for me personally, I would have to lean just a little bit more towards the shape of the apex. It does feel a little bit more familiar to my finger, and I have found that I do shoot this trigger a little bit better than I do this one. And that is more about the trigger because I have swapped slides back and forth just to kind of mix it up and see which one that I shoot better with. For me, it is the apex. The striker, on the other hand, that's one of those products that I've always looked at and thought, okay, well, this thing is supposed to, I don't know, increase reliability. It's supposed to increase reliability on a gun that I have several thousand rounds already out of and I've never had an issue with. Is this titanium striker upgrade really necessary? Does it really change anything? I actually think that it does. So I have that striker installed here on my secondary Hellcat Pro. This is the one with the threaded barrel. And I have taken this slide off and I've moved it over to my frame that has the apex trigger on it. I can definitely feel a difference in the pull when I'm actually shooting it. There's enough of a difference that I don't mind spending the, what is it, 140 bucks or whatever to order one and put it into this Hellcat Pro. Now, does it remove, what does it say, 30 or 35% of the creep? I don't know. I don't even know how to measure that. What I can measure is the fact that I, one of the cheapest people you will ever know, I am willing to spend $140 to buy this titanium striker upgrade so that I can have it in both of my Hellcat Pros. At the end of the day, I think if you're struggling with trying to make a decision between the MCarbo or the Apex or any other number of trigger options that are on the market, I think you've got a tough decision to make. Reliability and safety, they're always going to be right at the top of the list when you make your decision. After that, you've got comfort, you've got form, you've got function. If an upgraded trigger checks all of those boxes for you, then it's a win. For now, I'm going to stick to the Apex trigger on one Hellcat Pro and the MCarbo on the other, but I am determined to add that titanium striker to this guy right here. Now I know that probably doesn't help you guys too terribly much, and I get it. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. The bottom line is there's no perfect product for everyone, every time, in every situation. There just isn't. All I can say is that I found the MCarbo products work well, and I'm excited to see what they come up with in the future. Not only that, but I'm open to trying more of their products on other firearms that I own. So, you know, if that's any indicator of the quality, then take that for what it's worth. That's it for today, guys. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you back here real soon.